Yes, it is awesome. Wow. Well, welcome
Thank
everybody.
you, Will.
Really appreciate it. Again, if you don't mind, real quick, sort of mute your mics. If you haven't, then you can do that sort of globally if necessary. Um, we really appreciate everybody taking the time, morning, afternoon, evening, middle of the night, wherever you are. So greetings, or as they say in Texas, howdy. Really appreciate that. It's an honor to have everybody here. What's sort of interesting about what we're attempting to do here is that we're attempting to look back in history and provide some insight into what may actually be the future or a future. What's really fascinating is that when you take a look at the construct of commerce or markets, where it really started. Yes, it was thousands of years ago. There's no question about it. Um, but it all comes down to people. And um, I, I'm being a little anachronistic here by putting up an image that isn't necessarily in space, but one that may actually have something to do with space, but is in the middle of the desert. The analogy is that for a long, long time, individuals would get together to understand and meet each other relative to what it is that they have. So, I mean, the original Silk Road that was started long ago wasn't so much as a road as it was a mechanism for individuals to meet each other and understand, hey, we have something, I have something that might be interesting when we go back to the village, the town, wherever it might be. Um, it was really fascinating that that's sort of where things started from a commerce standpoint, if you will. That has grown obviously dramatically. We're now into billions of dollars that flow through uh, uh, different nexus points all around the world where that still is happening, albeit it's happening at a literally a global scale. But in the end, it always started with the people that actually got together to talk to each other and say, hey, I have this, you have that. This might be interesting if we do a trade. Um, it just so happens that in our particular case, we want to transition where these nexus points are, which are right now you can think of as ports on the ground to space. It's just that simple. What we're putting together here at Arkisys, in all honesty, started with the construct of how do we create the platform to support commerce and market creation in space that currently heretofore doesn't exactly exist. To date, everything that we do in space looks at the Earth, supports the Earth, and that's wonderful. It will continue to do so for a long time. But there's a realization and honestly, a yearning for a vision that goes beyond just doing things for the Earth to begin to do things for each other and for new business and new activities in space that eventually will lead itself out. So, in all honesty, what we're doing today is literally providing the venue and the platform. While you didn't arrive on camel, or if you did, that's really cool. The idea is that we are enabling all of you to get together to talk about this brand new ecosystem that is beginning to sort of burgeon and coalesce around doing business in space. So in essence, that's what we're for. Yes, the construct of a destination on orbit requires a piece of hardware and a platform, and we are working diligently behind the scenes. We won't share today, but the image that you see is in essence our very first step in that. Everything that we're doing is thinking about how to connect to you. How do we make it easier? How do we make it incredibly affordable? How do we make it as fast as possible that whatever that cool bauble and commerce activity that you have, you can get to orbit, you can test it, you can demonstrate it, and then you can look back and say, look what we've done. Might I be able to do business with somebody else? So our entire success resides upon your ability to be successful. So we are pushing and doing everything we possibly can to support that. um, I will. I don't want to go sort of any further into that. My job is to sort of see the vision and attempt to create the vision to push it forward. The most fascinating thing, in all honesty, by the folks that are here today, and I have to recognize all of you, is that you are in essence those pioneers. You're the ones that are taking that first trip, whether it's on the back of a camel, in a Jeep, on a ship, whatever it might be, to meet other folks, that you can begin to think about, how do we create this market ecosystem in space? So with that, I wanted to make it short. I'm going to hand it off to the most venerable person who I think is allowing us to actually transition this vision into practice and execution. Very humbled and privileged to have him to support us at this point in time. Dan Lopez, as many of you may or may not know, has done a lot of this in the past. He has been in the space business and done really well in actually helping companies come to market. So that's really important. But he also has a deeper understanding of how to sort of create and pull together people to enable them to form the very first port or nexus point that we can do business in space. Um, so I'm humbled that you all are here. I'm very, very happy that you're here. We recognize specifically those individuals that are supporting us on the technical side, customers that we're talking to at the moment, transport providers, OTV providers, and partners that we specifically want to talk about with today, so that we go forward to sort of make all this happen. So really appreciate your participation and support this morning. Dan, at this point, I will hand it off to you so that you can get started without any further ado.
Awesome, Dave. Thank you so much for bringing to light our vision. And what we're going to do today is talk a little bit about really what we're doing. Some of you have been along the ride for since the beginning and for our journey to now. What's important is to revisit our vision and a little bit about what the port is. I think that's the most important, so that you can see really where your vision, your business, your enterprise really fits in nicely with how the port is actually infrastructure for you to execute your business. And that is really what, if you think about 20 years ago in the history of, say, mobile applications or cloud computing infrastructure, there is no such thing literally as a mobile app developer. There's no such thing. At some point, there was a convergence, if you will, of a series of different technologies that now created whole industries overnight. If you think about how fast that has occurred, we are trying to create technology that really will instantiate the next wave of an ecosystem in space. And that's why it's so important that you all are here to bring forward your innovations on top of infrastructure, that you don't have to worry about that stuff anymore. You can actually bring rapid prototyping, testing, and then actual deployment of that technology into a marketplace as fast as 90 days. That's unprecedented. And so what we're trying to do is do that with you all. We hope that we're not a Palm Pilot. We hope that we're an iPhone, but you never know how history deals your cards. But what we're going to unveil today is the stepping stone or the foundational elements to get us to an iPhone-like infrastructure, an AWS-like infrastructure. It's just that the domain is in space. There's nothing different, nothing magical about space. It is just a location. And getting there has been very hard, and we're trying to make that easier. So what is the port? If you can see what the port here is, it's a hexagonal shape built around a structural core with an esper ring that holds all of our sides together. But as you see, the sides, that trapezoidal shape, can actually aggregate into many different shapes and sizes. And as you had seen, the notional idea of like a larger port structure that hosts a myriad of different types of capabilities. When I first had the open slide, that's the idea of aggregation. So what we are doing is creating a technical and business platform that's designed to scale. And why now? It's really important to understand what's happening in the fabric of the industry. Technologies gotten mature so that we can actually execute on these ideas. And Dave and I have been part of conversations for 20 years about how to do some of these things. But now the technology is actually there, and we can actually do it much faster than we even thought. The second part is moving things around in space has become much more efficient. So vehicle transport, not only from launch providers, but things that go from launch provider to somewhere else has matured. And there's also the alignment between commercial and government interests, so that the infrastructure in space is not a mission oriented way of thinking about the world. It is services that you can pull off the shelf and say, I have this idea. I need infrastructure from Arkisys and all of its partners to go execute certain types of activity in space. That's the idea. So the markets, again, that we are trying to unlock are Earth-based, ones that look back at the Earth. So homes, for broadband for homes, mobile asset tracking, remote sensing, data connectivity. We'll hear from a renowned telecommunications company today as one of our partners. But those are the things that look back at the Earth. What we're trying to do is then step into a mode of thinking about how to transact in space for space activity specifically. So opening up markets for satellite servicing, human space flight, long duration platforms that are novel and built in space, manufacturing, recycling, mining, those types of things. It's quite a large industry when you think about it. And what we would like to do is then create the idea that space, again, is just a location, it's just a domain. And so when we open up new markets, you take an analog, say, energy production or construction in Earth analogies, and you move that to space, you use the port, and it's supporting technology to actually go do that. And so that's the other thing that is potentially much larger than anything that we've ever done before on Earth. Okay, let's move on here. So our partner program, I wanted to unveil a little bit here. The partner program has a specific focus in key delivery of port activity, and deploying to the port takes quite a bit of effort up front, but then we actually reduce that time to get to the port by doing a couple things, and we really rely on our partners to do that. So what happens here is that our partners can get you from idea or the ideation of your space program, from drafting from a piece of paper, a napkin drawing even, to the port in 90 days. And how do we do that is that we have a way to de-risk and test your things on the ground. And when we do that, we can get you a fairly good confidence that you're going to operate on the port very well and seamlessly. When you transport up to the port, there's going to be lots of different activities, supply chain, all the way to security, and then delivery to the actual launch pad, and then up to the port you go. All along the way, we require bits of the supply chain to coordinate. And in the past, there used to be a modality in which you had to operate with trying to figure that out all on your own. And now with a partner network, if you come into the Arkisys ecosystem, you can choose off the shelf many of different ways how to attack your problem and get it up to the port and then operationalize that. That's really how we rely on our partner network for the resources you need to grow and then scale your business in space. So what is it? The partner network is a global community of providers just like you to leverage the port to build solutions and services for its own customers. Arkisys is helping build the market and then have providers sell their offerings that are valuable to the ecosystem. We provide support along the way, technical and marketing, and the go-to-market strategies to help really amplify the ecosystem. Arkisys also partners with um, the the partner network to accelerate the journey for customers getting to the port, and takes advantage of all of the other things that I had mentioned briefly, um, especially underlying technology that allows for rapid integration and tests and then seamless incorporation into the actual port. It really starts with an online journey. We all talk about online services and automation and so forth, but we really wanted to make this a beautiful experience. Not just an automated experience, but a beautiful experience. And so what we've done is created a window into the ecosystem that really starts to interact with our partner network. So when you go to book a mission, we really have a way in our back office to align how you're going to get to the port. And we can do customizations, we can do feasibility studies that make sense for your specific mission. And then we incorporate the partners that will help you execute. So I encourage everyone, if you have not already, check that out online. Getting started with the partner program, we wanted to make sure that there's three key elements here that everyone understands. One is to build port expertise. We really want you to harness the power of what's inside and outside the port. If you think about an iPhone, we don't want you to go create an iPhone just to create your mobile app, but that mobile app might be the next Instagram or Snapchat of space, in which you can create billion-dollar ideas on top of infrastructure. We know that model already exists on Earth, and we're going to transport that into a space domain. We then are going to open up and allow the market to grow by providing go-to-market strategies. And that helps with the opportunities that were not on your plate or not in your visibility start to coalesce. And so we bring marketing opportunities like co-branded campaigns, customer-facing webinars, case studies, research applications, and publications, and event sponsorships and things like that. And these are things that happen quite a bit around the industry, but they've been very siloed and segmented. And we're going to coalesce that into product offerings that help go-to-market strategies for all of our partners. The other thing that we also wanted to make sure that there's value translated in this activity. So when we drive successful engagements as Arkisys, it really requires the partner engagement program to kick in. And there could be large things that we're trying to do, multinational even initiatives that bring together a lot of the stakeholders in a seamless way so that we can cross and co-sell with each other. And that happens quite a bit in other enterprises, but has never really taken off in space because there's no platform that united all of this. And now the port actually does quite a bit of that. So the four pillars that we're going to focus on initially are the OEM providers, the manufacturers, the rocket launch, and you'll hear from quite a bit of these providers today, and telecommunications. And those are the commercial providers that right on top of the atomic element of the port itself. And this really is important for us to create interoperability and working relationships from the hardware side. And we'll talk a little bit about that on another follow-up call. The Science Directorate, and you're going to hear from one of our partners, and Dr. Heath Mills will talk a little bit about the Science Directorate today. But the science partners provide consulting and support services for hardware and everything in between to get microgravity experiments up to the port and then the data back down. And that's really a groundbreaking relationship that we have with Rhodium, who also has quite a bit of space heritage under their belt as well. The public sector, we all know and love the environment of government contracting, but this is really to help support all of us getting the public sector market up and running underneath a partner network. And that allows us to get sales and marketing and even capture and proposals even out the door together, where the port is the underlying support mechanism that gets that program done. Rideshare brokers. This is something else that rideshare brokers used to go out and aggregate different types of places to go shoot things out into space with only a few destinations, maybe even just one. Maybe the ISS was the underlying destination, and Leo is the underlying destination. The port itself opens up quite a bit of. I'm going to mute a few people here. The rideshare broker program really opens up end-to-end mission management services so that you not only get constant cadence to the port destinations, but also things that you also have to get: insurance, and even launch support and mission return elements. And Heath will go through some of that as well. But that is the four pillars of our current program, and we're going to open up some dialogue about that in the breakout sessions to answer some questions. I'm not going to take those currently right now, but those are the main sections. Just to be a little whimsical here, the partners that are here today are a few. We have many others that have already demonstrated technology. I have a placeholder here in the title, which is kind of intentional. We're saying that to be a partner is to be an explorer, just like Dave had mentioned earlier in the keynote. This is uncharted waters where we're going to be aggregating capabilities that used to be very disparate. And when we do that, it provides way more permutations of connecting tissue between each of the players in the ecosystem, where the innovation actually amplifies itself as it goes. So Max and Santiago have been really the poster children of exploring that with us early. And now we are opening up a much more mature market. So here is our next segue into getting started. We also have the idea of certifying your hardware or works with the port. We will discuss that on another webinar in the next coming months, but we also wanted to make sure that you all knew that there's 3 new program initiatives that are going to be underway just shortly after we launch our partner program. With that, I do want to get ready to get our first presenter in, and that will be Kelly. But before we do that, I did want everyone to have those resources, and I will share this again as a presentation to everyone who attended. But do check out the resources online. It's becoming much more mature in its content offerings to describe the partner program. The other thing there too is that there's an interplay between the science at the port and our science directorate and our partner initiatives. You can always reach out to us via email directly if you have questions, as well as call us 866 Arkisys, which is hilarious that we were able to get that phone number, but that is our phone number. So do note it, and I will hand it off to Kelly here to talk about ARC. I will be in touch with all of you, and thanks again for attending today. And I look forward to our interactive discussions here shortly.